Hi and Assalamualaikum. We are Group 2 and we will be presenting on our lab proposal for Experiment 7 which focuses on the water quality analysis. Let us begin with some background. Clean and safe water is essential, not just for public health but also for industrial operation and maintaining environmental balance. However, water quality can be compromised by physical factors like sediment, chemical pollutants such as heavy metals or pH imbalances, and biological contaminants like bacteria. That's why regular monitoring of water quality is critical to ensure it meets regulatory standards and supports sustainable resource management. This leads us to the problem statement. There is an ongoing need to evaluate whether local water sources actually comply with acceptable quality standards for human consumption and other uses. This experiment will give us the tools and data needed to assess that by analyzing parameters such as turbidity, pH, dissolved oxygen, and more. Now, let's take a look at the objective of this experiment. The main goal is to investigate the current condition of University Technology Malaysia UTM lake water by analyzing several key water quality parameters. From there, we aim to evaluate whether the lake water is suitable for environmental or domestic purposes based on established standards. Moving on to the scope of the experiment, this involves measuring a range of important water quality indicators. This include pH, which indicates the water acidity or alkalinity, chemical oxygen demand, a measure of the organic pollutant in the water, conductivity, which tells us how many dissolved ions are present, turbidity, which reflects how clear the water is and the presence of suspended particles, and salinity, which measures the concentration of dissolved salts. After collecting and analyzing this data, we will compare the values with the National Water Quality Standard to assess whether UTM's lake water meet the required benchmarks.
This is the methodology for this experiment. So the apparatus of this experiment involves sample bottles, beakers, BOD bottles, pH meter, conductivity meter, turbidity meter, BOD meter, and the materials is water sample from Tasik located in UTM. First, we do the COD measurement. Firstly, prepare a container of a appropriate size suitable for sulfuric acid, and then label each container as A contain a sample from Tasik UTM and B containing another sample from Tasik UTM. And then pipette 2 millimeters of water sample into each container, and then close the container tightly and shake thoroughly to homogenize the sample, and then turn on the COD reactor and set to 150 degrees Celsius. Then operate the COD reactor for 2 hours after placing the samples inside. After 2 hours, take out the sample of the reactor and allow it to cool to room temperature. And then set up the spectrophotometer to the appropriate wavelength, read and record the absorbance values. Next, we measure the pH. So first, turn on the pH meter and then waiting for the monitor until the reading becomes stable, and then place the electrode in each beaker filled with different samples and record the pH value once the reading stabilizes. Next, we measure the turbidity. First, we need to switch on the turbidity meter reading and then pour water sample into the sample bottle until full, and then put the sample into the turbidity meter and adjusting the turbidity range accordingly. Next, we record the readings for each sample. So next, we measure the conductivity. Firstly, we need to switch on the conductivity meter and then dip the probe into the water sample and then turn on the mode knob to adjust the red line to be directly perpendicular to the meter. and then turn on the mode knob temperature to get the temperature reading of each sample, and then we record the readings of temperature for each sample. Next, we turn on the mode knob to salinity to get the salinity readings of each sample. And then lastly, we record the readings of salinity for each sample. Turn on the conductivity mode to get the conductivity reading of the samples and record the readings of conductivity for each samples. The safety procedure for this experiment is we need to wear rubber gloves when collecting samples to avoid direct contact with potentially contaminated water, even if it appears clear. And then wear closed-toe shoes to protect feet from potential hazards in and around the water sources. And then working with chemicals, we need to consider wearing a lab coat to protect clothes. And then use the sterile plastic bottle for collecting water samples, and then try to disturb the bottom sediment as little as possible when collecting samples from a stream or river.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So my name is Nur Afina bint Ahmad Razani, and I will continue to present this lab proposal. So for the experimental plan, as we know in this experiment, we don't have the formula to use to calculate the data, because all the data will be valued by the machines. Okay, I will proceed with the variables to investigate. So the first one is the independent variable, where we varies the source of water samples, which are the UTM Tasik Ilmu Lake water and also the UTM Civil Faculty Lake water. So the control variables is the consistent use of the same instruments, which are the COD reactor, pH meter, etc. And also we have the same reagents used for the both source of water samples, which is the sulfuric acid, and all the testing procedures for all analysis is the same. And the third one is the dependent variables. So we will calculate the COD, chemical oxygen demand, pH level, the conductivity, salinity, and also the turbidity of both of the water samples. Next, we have the outline of team plan and also the task delegation. So divided into three parts: before, during, and also the after the experiment. So in the before experiment, we first have to define the objective and the hypothesis, what we want to find, and also as the results for this experiment. So other than that, we also have to identify the variables and conduct the literature review in order to understand more about this experiment, plan the methodology, what are the materials and the safety measures, and also to prepare data, the collection and analysis methods. So during the experiment, we have to collect the water sample and test the water sample, also conduct the COD, pH, conductivity, and turbidity tests for both of the water samples, following the procedures and the safety protocols. So we will repeat the test if the results is not accurate. So after the experiment, we have to clean the lab, such as wash the beaker, and after that, we also have to analyze the data and interpret all the results that we gain. So these are the outline of team plan and also the task delegation divided for each of the members, 4 members, during the before experiment, during experiment, and also the after experiment.
For the anticipated result, we will use this table to record the data, which contain the temperature, COD, pH, conductivity, salinity, and the turbidity. The expected trend is as below. So for pH, based on the anticipated slightly acidic nature of lake water, it may expected to fall between 6.0 to 9.0, which align with class 2 of the National Water Quality Standard of Malaysia. So this range is generally suitable for the aquatic life and plants. being almost neutral but potentially slightly acidic. So the NWQS for Malaysia classified pH value between 6.5 to 8.5 as class 1, which is suitable for drinking water without treatment, and 6 to 9 for class 2A and 2B. So for COD, we expect the value to be lower than 50 milligram per liter, classifying them below class 3 according to national water quality standards. For conductivity, both water samples are expected to have conductivity levels below 1000 microamps over centimeter, classifying them under class 1 of Malaysia national water quality standard. That indicates normal conductivity. For salinity, lake water samples, which is sample A and B from Tasik Ilmu UTM, will have the readings between 0.02 to 0.06 ppt. So according to National Water Quality Standard classification, fresh water body for class 1 to 2B is suitable for drinking with or without conventional treatment and recreational use, typically will have low conductivity and salinity value. The last one is for turbidity. So the turbidity level are expected to be below 50 NTU, which is standard limit for class 2B water according to Malaysia's NWQS. So we expected UTM lake water is to be clear due to good management practice. The expected trend for graph of water quality analysis between sample A and sample B is we decided to use bar chart because it can do a direct comparison between various water quality parameters such as COD, pH, conductivity, salinity and turbidity between sample A and sample B. Bar chart also highlight general trends or significant difference between two samples. For example, if sample B consistently has taller bars for pollutant like COD compared to sample A, so it indicates the presence of more organic matter in the lake water, suggesting a higher level of organic pollution in the lake water.